Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to South Coast Radio. And today we're joined by Christian singer, songwriter, and worship leader and recording artist Rachel Durbin. So, Rachel's music blends CCM, indie pop, folk, and cinematic storytelling, all rooted in her faith and passion for helping people encounter God through music. Originally from the Chicago suburbs and now based near Knoxville, Tennessee, Rachel wears many hats as a wife, mother of 5, worship leader, homeschool teacher, and songwriter. She recently released a vibrant new single called Pictures of Heaven, the first release from her upcoming album Reflection. So let us welcome Rachel Durbin to the show. Rachel, how are you doing?
I'm doing quite well. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Awesome, Rachel. It's really great to have you with us today on the show. So, for the listeners hearing your story for the first time, can you tell us a little bit about your journey and how music became such an important part of your life?
Well, I've loved music since I was a young child. I've always written songs since I was little, but later in life I decided I wanted to become a music teacher. So I went to college and studied how to teach music and taught for several years in the public schools here. But then right around once we started having our family, the Lord kind of redirected my steps into worship leading and in our church. And after that, in 2020, there was a shift where I started focusing more on recording and releasing the songs that the Lord had given me, and it has been such a journey, but good. Even though there's been quite a variety of things in my life, it's been a great journey. I wouldn't change any of it.
That's really great to hear, Rachel. So you were classically trained in music education and voice performance, and you spent years teaching elementary music. How did God redirect your path toward worship leading and songwriting?
Well, the worship leading was just kind of natural. I mean, ever since I met my husband, he and I have been just kind of volunteering with our church and leading worship as we went along. And then once we had our third child, we decided I couldn't teach full-time anymore. I needed to stay home and shift some things around. And I was invited to lead worship at our church at that point in time as a part-time staff member. And all along, the Lord has He keeps providing opportunities for me to lead at churches, and I'm always blessed by that. It's not something that I pursued necessarily, but it's something that He allowed, and I'm grateful for it. Mm-hmm. So.
Wow, that's really awesome, Rachel. And you balance worship ministry, homeschooling 5 children, teaching lessons, gardening, and even martial arts training. What helps you stay grounded and creative in such a full season of life?
Well, I've always been one of those people that it functions better when I have a lot on my plate to juggle. So, so I do tend to have to keep a lot of things going in order to remain productive, even with just the little things. Yeah. But I do have to kind of constantly reevaluate my schedule. I look at my calendar and I try to judge, if I'm overextending or if I'm not overextending, how to build times of rest into my schedule. Because I've discovered I'm actually an introvert, and I do need times of rest to recover when I'm having to be very, very on with a lot of people. But if I plan that into my week, then I tend to function better. And it's been a neat process to kind of learn that about myself and to always just kind of reassess, am I balancing things well? Is my family taken care of? Is my husband taken care of? Are my kids taken care of? Is my ministry thriving? How do I juggle these things to make sure that it's the scales are never out of balance? So
yes, really awesome, Rachel. And now, around 2020, you sensed it was time to start recording and releasing the songs God had placed in your heart. What was that season of stepping out in faith like for you?
Well, it started with a dream. I had this dream in the middle of the night about writing songs, and that it would become a real blessing for my family and for other families, multiplying blessings. And so at 3 a.m. I woke up and I started Googling how to copyright a song, how to record and release a song. So I started pretty basic, trying to figure out how to do it. But in that season, I mean, it was 2020, the world had kind of shut down with COVID, and our church was forced to go online.
Yeah.
And so I was learning, the Lord was equipping me with skills of how to record from home. And so I started my YouTube channel and using those skills. And it's just sort of been this natural progression ever since then. God wanted me to put some good things into the world through the internet, because there was so much negativity. So I started doing that in faith, and I haven't stopped since then, and it's been awesome.
Amen. That's really great to hear, Rachel. So let's talk about the new single. What inspired Pictures of Heaven, and what message do you hope listeners take away from it?
That song was actually inspired by a photograph, and that photograph will end up being the album art for the whole album when it's released. This photograph that I took was sort of just a picture of a river and the reflection in the water, but when I turned it upside down, it sort of looked like this magical land, right? And the Lord spoke to me that it was sort of like our understanding of heaven. Like this side of heaven, our understanding is incomplete. We don't quite grasp the fullness of the picture, but God gives us these little glimpses of it along the way if we take the time to notice. And so that's why I wanted to write that particular song. And the whole album that I'm writing is a collection of those glimpses of heaven that the Lord's given me. Some of them inspired by photographs, and some of them inspired just by life in general. But I wanted to be able to share those glimpses with others.
Wow, that's really awesome. And one of the key lyrics says, "There's a glimpse of heaven in every day."
The radio station you can't live without. This is your radio.
This is South Coast Radio.